welcome to part 4 of our series on easy homemade plant milks. So today we're going to be making probably the easiest of all of the plant milks, and it's a very versatile nut as well. So we're going to be making cashew milk and also cashew cream. So this milk I have actually already blended up because of all the noise with the blender. So as usual with all of our nuts and seed milks, I soaked some nuts overnight in water and then blended them up in fresh water. With cashew milk, you actually don't need to soak it overnight. You can soak the nuts for as little as 1 hour. So it's a really good one if you've forgotten to put your nuts on the night before. If you use raw cashews, I used about half a cup today because I didn't want to make a whole litre of milk. So I'm gonna mix this with 2 cups of water. So I've got in here half a cup of cashews. Sorry, I'm not explaining this very well. I've got half a cup of cashews soaked in water for about 4 hours I did today. And then I have strained them and blended them up with 2 cups of water. Now, this milk is amazing. It makes a beautiful, delicately flavored and creamy milk. And unlike the other nut and seed milks, it doesn't need straining. So I'll show you. That's just been blended and I can pour it straight into this jug. It's beautifully creamy and white. And I'll just have a little taste to show you. It's very light and slightly sweet as well because it's made of cashews, so they're pretty sweet. A lot of the nut milk recipes will tell you to add extra ingredients such as vanilla or a sweetener or a pinch of salt, and you can do this, but I feel personally that it doesn't really need it because nuts and seeds usually have a really lovely natural flavour and a natural sweetness, and unless you're going to be using them in a recipe where you want those extra flavours, you don't really need it. I mean, I wouldn't want vanilla or extra sweetener in my coffee or tea, for example. So it's up to you. I would just make the basic milk, and then if you're going to add different flavours to make it into a smoothie, just add them at that point. So it also makes it much more simple as well. So like all the other nuts and seeds that we've talked about so far, cashews also have a range of nutrients which benefit your health. I'm not going to go into huge detail, but the same kinds of things, the mono and polyunsaturated fats, the antioxidants, the minerals such as magnesium, copper, phosphorus, manganese, and zinc. So there is the cashew milk. How simple was that? Now I'm going to show you how to make cashew cream, and the only difference is the proportion of water to nuts. So with this one, I have got 1 cup of cashews that has been soaking in water, again, for about 3 or 4 hours, but you can do it for as little as 1 hour if you're short of time. I'm now going to strain the water out of that. Oh, and you'll notice that today I am using my NutriBullet instead of a Thermomix. In case you think you have to have a Thermomix or a Vitamix to make nut milks, you don't. One of these little guys will do. There's a lot of different types of NutriBullet or Magic Bullet or whatever they're called, and they're all fine. So I put my 1 cup of cashews in the blender bowl, and I'm going to add only half a cup of water to this. Now with cream, we do add a little sweetener, and I want to talk to you about sweeteners today. So I have quite a lot of different opinions about sweeteners, and because really we actually don't need artificial or added sugars in our life. If we're just eating a healthy diet and we're including some fruit in our diet, that probably is enough. But we love the taste of sweet. And sometimes we do want to add a little bit. And because I make a range of desserts, I do use sweeteners in my cooking, but it's a sometimes treat. So what I want to talk to you today is about a little bit about the glycemic index of a sweetener. And the glycemic index is just a measure of how quickly a food releases its glucose into your blood. The glycemic index of pure glucose is 100, and all the other foods are measured against that. So a lower GI value means a slower, steadier release of glucose into the blood, which is less likely to result in those blood sugar fluctuations that you may be familiar with. So low GI is usually referred to as a 55 or less, and then you've got medium GI of about 56 to 69 or so, and anything above 70 is considered to be a high glycemic index. But these categories do depend on you and your sensitivity, what you're eating them with, how much fiber you're eating, whether or not you're doing a lot of exercise. So you really need to look at your own reaction and notice how you feel after consuming different sweeteners. For example, if you are diabetic or insulin sensitive, then you're probably going to need a lower GI diet than other people. So let's have a look at some of the common sweeteners. So this is raw sugar. Some people think that having a raw sugar is somehow better than just having white table sugar. I'm really sorry, but it really isn't. White sugar and raw sugar have a similar glycemic index of about 65. So that's on the high side, and you really want to minimize your intake of that. Let's talk about coconut sugar. Everybody loves the idea of coconut sugar. It's a more unrefined sweetener. It's perhaps more sustainable and kinder to the planet. Unfortunately, it still has quite a high GI of about 54, 55. So it's still a sometimes food. And that goes for maple syrup as well, which is a similar around about 54. All delicious, but let's limit how much we're having. What else have we got here? Dates. Dates are a whole food, and they have got fiber and they have got nutrients in, so they are better than a pure sweetener, but they also are very, very high GI. So if you used dates or a date puree in your food, you'd have a GI of around about 60. It can come down from that, but I would go with that. It's around about 40 to 60, so I would go with a higher estimate there. Same goes for apple puree. It's less, but it's still 40. So we're still looking, all sweeteners are basically going to work as sugar in your body. Brown rice syrup is actually one of the lowest, but it's also not very sweet, so you may be tempted to use a little bit more. This has got a GI of about 25. And agave nectar, if you buy, I haven't got any to show you today, but if you buy the organic dark amber or the blue agave nectar, that actually can have a GI of only around 10. But some of the lighter ones can, again, go up to around about 30 or 40. So if you're looking for the lowest GI sweetener, definitely agave nectar and brown rice syrup are the way to go. Okay, so that's what I want to say about that. But just remember that when recipes say refined sugar-free, as if it means that there's no sugar in it, that is not true. What they mean is that they're using something like dates or agave or maple syrup, so it still may be very high in sugar. And really, I would encourage you to minimize your use of these sweeteners and gradually replace them with perhaps some other sweeteners, such as stevia or maybe some of the sugar alcohols, such as xylitol or maltitol. You don't want to overdo those things, but those have pretty much no GI at all because they don't behave in your blood like sugar. but they do add a little sweetness. So sometimes I use a stevia and erythritol mix. Stevia is about the safest natural a natural sweetener on the market, whereas some of the other ones I would highly recommend that you avoid, such as aspartame and sucralose and saccharin. Those are highly refined, they have no nutritional value, and they also have been shown to have some health risks. So I would avoid those. Okay, so what will we put in our cashew cream today? Well, I think I'm going to put a little bit of maple syrup in. So you can put anything between 1 teaspoon and 2 tablespoons, depending on how sweet you like it. So I'm only going to put about a teaspoon in. And then we will put in some, I'm going to put in this organic vanilla extract. If you can, it's really delicious if you use a fresh vanilla bean in this cream. So you would split the vanilla bean and scrape all the seeds out from inside and put them in. But vanilla beans are really expensive, so I'm going to be using vanilla extract today. And just a tiny pinch of salt. So we're going to blend this up now. And I'm probably going to stop it and wipe down the sides a bit because there's much less water in here, it's going to take a little bit of assistance. So it might be noisy for a little while here. Actually, it's blending up quite nicely, and I don't know if I'm even going to need to wipe the sides down. Beautiful, yes, actually. So let's show you what it looks like. It's quite thick. If you want a pouring cream, you could put in a little bit more water. This is going to work really well as a cream to just dollop on top of a piece of orange and almond polenta cake, for example, which I happen to have in my fridge at the moment. So this cashew cream is so easy. Did you see how easy that was? And it's a really perfect substitute for a dairy cream. It tastes delicious and it's got all of those nutrients in it, and it's very easy to make. And if you choose to use a little bit less sugar, much better for you. So I hope you enjoyed today, and come back tomorrow and see me making, I haven't quite decided yet, something a little bit different.